The bright summer sun poured generously over the old town square, making the damp cobblestones near the fountain shimmer with light. Kate sat in the shade of an old tree, her easel beside her, and her artwork neatly lined up along the curb. A light breeze rustled the leaves, and children's laughter echoed in the distance. Kate was finishing a sketch of a stubborn little boy who was leaning dangerously over the fountain's edge, reaching for a coin in the water, while an older kid desperately tugged at his t-shirt to pull him back. That's when a woman caught her attention. Dressed stylishly and elegantly, she walked up to the fountain, talking loudly on her phone. Her high-pitched, boastful voice carried through the sound of splashing water. "No, he's not here yet, always late," she said into the phone with a barely concealed smirk. "He's such a naive idiot. Thinks I'm into him for his pretty face? Eddie, come on. Of course not. He's too dumb to realize I'm only after his dad. Stop it, Eddie, you know we've got this planned. You did great. The old man won't suspect a thing, he'll sign whatever we put in front of him, and boom, he's in our pocket. That'll crush his perfect little reputation. And the kid? A disposable pawn. So don't be mad, babe." Kate flinched as she caught every word. Just then, the woman, clearly annoyed by the wait, turned abruptly and stepped right onto one of Kate's paintings, a delicate watercolor cityscape. The slender frame cracked, the canvas tore under her elegant heel. The woman cast a haughty glance at Kate and her setup. "Hey, beggar girl," she snapped. "Sprawled out with all this junk. Stinking up the place. Go get a real job at a factory or something instead of begging on the street." Before Kate could even react to the sudden cruelty, the woman's expression shifted dramatically. A sugary smile bloomed across her face. "Stephen," she squealed, her voice now sweet and syrupy. A tall, cheerful young man approached. His whole presence radiated warmth and optimism, his eyes gleaming with joy. He greeted the woman with a hug and a kiss on the cheek. His good mood was infectious, like he wanted to share his smile with the whole world. The woman clung to him immediately, beaming. Stephen's gaze suddenly landed on Kate and her drawings. His eyes lit up with interest. "Wow, that's amazing," he said, admiring her work. "Can you draw us? Just imagine, Lisa, we'll hang it in the living room. It'll totally clash with my dad's boring landscapes." He laughed at his own joke. The woman, Lisa, curled her lip. "Stephen, come on," she said with fake sweetness. "It's just street scribbles. We're already late." "No big deal, Lisa." Stephen waved her off and pulled out some cash. "This is a great idea." He handed the money to Kate. His smile was so genuine that, despite everything she'd just witnessed, Kate felt herself soften. She nodded silently and got to work. The sun played in their hair, the breeze gently tousled Lisa's strands. Kate captured Stephen's open-hearted nature in the portrait and the predatory glint in Lisa's eyes. As Kate worked, curious onlookers started to gather. Some watched out of idle interest, others whispered, eyeing the well-dressed couple and the focused artist. Finally, when the sketch was done, Kate handed it to Stephen. "Whoa! This is amazing," he whistled, impressed. Lisa snatched the portrait from him and took a look. Her eyes narrowed. The crowd sensed tension and hushed, anticipating a scene. "What the hell is this?" she hissed. Her voice was full of fury. "Are you blind? This is hideous. What a freak show." Her pompous tone pushed Kate over the edge. Without thinking, Kate grabbed the portrait back and, with a few bold strokes, drew a pair of large horns on Lisa's head. "There," she said clearly, thrusting the drawing into Stephen's hands so hard he staggered. "And take your money back." Muted chuckles rippled through the crowd, some openly giggled. The couple froze. Lisa opened her mouth to snap back, but Stephen stopped her. He looked at the ruined portrait, then at Lisa, then back at the drawing. Without a word, he took her by the hand and practically dragged her away, stunned and flustered, as the crowd's laughter followed them. People slowly dispersed. Kate let out a heavy sigh. She knew she had gone too far, but she couldn't stay silent. As the square finally emptied out, she began to pack up. Suddenly, with a screech of tires, a dark blue Porsche pulled up. The same young man jumped out, slamming the door behind him. His movements were sharp, tense. This didn't look good. "Hey," he called out sharply, striding toward Kate. "What the hell was that?" "My girlfriend had a total meltdown and took off. Now I'm supposed to apologize to her? What kind of stunt was that? I want an explanation." He stopped just a few steps from Kate, his eyes locked on hers, demanding answers. A chill ran down her spine. "Are you sure you really want to hear it?" Kate replied, meeting his gaze. "Because your girlfriend isn't just rude, she's playing you for a fool." Stephen's frown deepened, and his anger seemed to fade. He looked around at the people still strolling nearby, then back at Kate, sensing she knew something more. "All right," he said slowly. "If you've got a minute, there's a quiet cafe across the street. Let's talk there, honestly." The cafe was nearly empty at this hour, the lighting soft and the atmosphere hushed. Kate and Stephen sat at a table tucked into a far corner. He was the first to break the silence. "What's your name?" he muttered. "Kate," she answered softly. "Okay then," he said. "What did you mean back there?" Kate took a deep breath, collecting her thoughts. She didn't want to gossip, but it was clear this guy was genuinely confused. "I draw what I see," Kate began calmly. "And I happened to overhear your girlfriend's phone call before you showed up. From what I gathered, she's up to something, and it's not good. She mentioned your father." Stephen tensed. His eyes narrowed. "What exactly did you hear?" His voice was low, almost cautious now. Kate recounted the conversation without embellishment, Lisa's smug laughter, her talk about using Stephen, the references to his father and their reputations, the part about the dumb puppy of a son. She stuck to the facts, her voice steady. Stephen's expression changed with each sentence. First disbelief, then shock, and finally a grim realization. He leaned back in his chair like the air had been knocked out of him. "No way," he whispered, staring into space. "I can't believe this." But it explains so much. Her strange behavior lately, all those hints about big opportunities, and most of all, he suddenly leaned forward, his eyes blazing. "She just left, to go to my father's estate. Said she had some important business talk, that I was too young to be involved. She even laughed at me, said I couldn't even handle a street girl. That's why I came back, to talk to you. And now I don't know what to think. Is she really trying to scam my dad? Or is she just trying to seduce him and dump me?" He jumped up and started pacing the narrow space between tables, clearly distressed. "I can't stop her. My father doesn't take me seriously. He'll just laugh in my face if I try to warn him." Suddenly, he stopped and looked straight at Kate, his stare intense enough to make her pale. "But you're different. You heard her. You're a witness. He'll listen to you, maybe even to me after that. This is about my family's honor. I can't let her humiliate us like this. And my pride." Kate stared at him. She was just a street artist. He came from a whole different world. Go to some mansion behind iron gates, with no idea what might happen, for someone she barely knew? But the way he looked at her, so sincere. She remembered how Lisa had crushed her painting, how she spoke down to her. "What am I even going to say?" Kate cried, caught up in his urgency. "The truth, Kate," Stephen said firmly. "Just tell him what you heard. Nothing more." She looked at him. There was no arrogance in his eyes, only hope. And Kate realized that the horned portrait had already set something bigger in motion, something she couldn't ignore now. "All right, I'll go with you," she said, making up her mind. "When?" "Right now, Kate," he breathed, relief flooding his voice. "She's already there." Kate froze. "What about my paintings?" "Paintings? Oh. Right." Stephen snapped out of it. "I'll help you pack them. They dashed out of the cafe and raced across the square to the fountain. Pigeons scattered as they passed, whipping cool air around their faces. Kate's hair flew around her shoulders, her cheeks flushed. Stephen caught his breath when he glanced at her. They quickly loaded her artwork into the trunk. Within minutes, they were driving off, merging into the city traffic. The Porsche screeched to a stop in front of massive wrought iron gates. Stephen jumped out and sprinted down the gravel path toward the main door. Kate followed behind, jaw slightly dropped. She'd never seen a house like this up close before. She flinched as the automatic gates slammed shut behind them. Stephen turned, understood instantly, and took her hand firmly, leading her inside. The entry hall was grand and richly decorated. As soon as they entered, they were met by the butler, a distinguished man with a posture as perfect and still as one of the statues in the hall. Stephen, out of breath and impatient, blurted out, "Is my father alone?" The butler didn't say a word. He merely raised 2 fingers, clearly signaling Lisa was present, then pointed toward the door of his father's study. Stephen moved forward. Kate followed closely behind, her anxiety pulsing in her chest. As they neared the study, muffled voices could be heard through the door. Stephen's tension peaked. He stopped abruptly, his hand hovering inches from the handle as if something invisible was holding him back. Kate gave him a questioning look, unsure why he had suddenly frozen. A flicker of inner turmoil crossed Stephen's face, fear of defying his father, the deep-rooted respect for the man's authority he'd been taught since childhood. But then his expression hardened. With a determination Kate hadn't seen in him before, Stephen gripped the doorknob and flung the study door open. Inside, Kate saw Lisa standing very close to a tall, silver-haired man. They were both leaning over a table covered in documents. Lisa had one arm lightly wrapped around the man's forearm, her fingers brushing his sleeve as she whispered something into his ear, looking deep into his eyes. Her body language, her predatory gaze, it all radiated shameless seduction. Stephen's father looked visibly unsettled by her nearness, confusion etched across his features. Both he and Lisa quickly turned their heads toward the intruders. Lisa's face instantly switched to a look of innocence and surprise, but her eyes narrowed with barely concealed rage. Stephen's father, trying to mask his discomfort with bluster, barked in a booming voice that shook the room. "Who gave you permission to come in?" Stephen drew a steady breath and replied with quiet conviction. "Father, this is Kate. She's an important witness. She can tell you the truth about Lisa's real intentions." Lisa didn't give him a chance to explain. Her voice rose in indignant protest. "Stephen, how dare you? We're in the middle of an important business conversation. And who is she anyway? That same street beggar from the square? Why did you drag her in here?" For a moment, Kate felt the heat rush to her cheeks. But only for a moment. She inhaled deeply, gathering every ounce of courage. "Excuse me," she called out firmly, raising her voice above the commotion. All 3, Stephen, his father, and Lisa, turned toward her, startled by the sudden clarity in her tone. Kate ignored Lisa and addressed the man behind the desk directly. "I understand why you're upset, but I didn't come here on my own. Your son brought me because I overheard this woman, Lisa, talking on the phone near the fountain. She called your son a naive fool and a disposable pawn." Lisa's face twisted with fury, and she interrupted, almost gasping for air. "Lies. Filthy lies. This beggar just wants money." But Kate didn't break eye contact with Stephen's father. Her voice grew stronger with each word. "She said she didn't care about your son. She only wanted you. She planned to get you to sign something, and then," Kate paused, letting the words sink in, and glanced at Lisa, whose eyes widened with panic, "you'd be in their hands." Stephen's father's face changed. His gaze shifted from pale Kate to a now visibly shaken Lisa. A hint of suspicion flickered in his eyes. "She's making this up. She's insane." Lisa shrieked, her voice cracking with hysteria. "She's trying to ruin me. Stephen, tell him." But Stephen just stared at her silently, his lips tightly pressed together. Kate continued, her voice calm but unyielding. She mentioned a dead project that would ruin your reputation, and that your son wasn't supposed to know anything about it. She also said someone named Eddie had already set everything up. So, who's Eddie? Silence fell like a hammer. Lisa turned white. Her eyes darted around the room, desperate for a way out. Stephen's father's expression hardened, his features sharpened, his eyes went cold and deadly. Slowly, he rose from his chair and leaned forward. "You little snake," he whispered, his voice so low it seemed to rise from the floor itself, yet every word landed with crushing weight. "You were going to feed me to my competitors?" Lisa tried to stammer something, anything, but her lips trembled and no sound came. Suddenly, Stephen's father grabbed her by the arm. She gasped in shock. Without another word, he dragged her across the study and into the hall. The long marble corridor echoed with the click of their steps. The staff, frozen in disbelief, stepped aside as the master of the house escorted his guest like a misbehaving child to the front door. Lisa stumbled, trying to break free, but his grip was unshakable. Stephen followed behind in silence. Kate, shaken, trailed after them, her heart pounding. She couldn't take her eyes off the surreal scene unfolding before her. They reached the grand iron gates. Stephen's father swung one open and pushed Lisa out. "Don't ever show your face here again," he said flatly. Lisa winced. "Stephen," she whimpered, trembling. Her voice barely audible. "No, Lisa. It's over." "Leave," Stephen replied coldly. There was no regret in his voice. Lisa turned slowly and walked away down the driveway, her steps heavy and aimless. The men returned in silence to the wide front steps, where Kate stood waiting, still trembling. In the doorway behind her, the staff had gathered, wide-eyed and silent. Stephen's father approached Kate slowly. His face, once stormy, was now filled with relief and genuine gratitude. He smiled and took her hand in a firm shake. Then, moved by something deeper, he gently pulled her into a warm, fatherly hug. "My dear girl," he said softly, "I owe you more than I can say. What can I do for you?" Kate stood speechless, still reeling, unsure how to respond. Sensing her hesitation, the man offered kindly, "Let's go inside and talk it over." Stephen joined them. His smile was wide and heartfelt, and suddenly Kate understood where he got it from. "Kate, you're incredible. You saved my family. You saved my father. I'm so sorry for everything." He stepped aside, letting her go in first. They walked together into a spacious, cozy living room. Kate, overwhelmed by the attention and surreal turn of events, could only shake her head in disbelief. I just did what I thought was right. I don't want anything from you." Stephen's father looked into her eyes and saw nothing but sincerity and selflessness. "Stephen mentioned that you're an artist," he said gently. "I'd be happy to help support that. May I ask, have you studied anywhere?" Kate gave a small shake of her head. "No." "Well then, we'll fully fund your education at a top art academy and provide everything you need to grow your talent. And once you're ready, we'll even look into helping you open your own studio or gallery." He turned to briefly explain to Stephen and Kate. "That dead project Lisa tried to sell me today, it was originally my idea. But we dropped it long ago because it was completely unprofitable. Only when you two walked into the study did I realize that she and my former business partner, now bitter rival, Edward Crawford, were trying to use it to drain my money and possibly transfer assets to fake entities using my name and reputation. You arrived just in time." While he was on the phone with his lawyer, Stephen, with his usual carefree energy, took Kate's hand and began giving her a tour of the house. They lingered in the greenhouse, filled with the scent of exotic flowers and the soft sound of trickling water. Suddenly, Stephen turned to her. "You know, Kate, today you helped me see things differently." Looking into his eyes, Kate suddenly realized something had shifted. He wasn't seeing her as just some street artist anymore, but as something more. A friend. He gently took her hand again, his fingers brushing her skin with a quiet tenderness. 6 months later, Kate was fully immersed in her studies at a prestigious art academy. Her talent blossomed under the guidance of top instructors, and every day brought new ideas, challenges, and a sense of purpose she had never known before. As usual after classes, Kate stepped out of the academy's historic building, her head buzzing with sketches for her next project. And there it was, the familiar dark blue Porsche waiting for her at the curb. She got in. "Any plans?" Stephen asked, starting the engine. "Not really," Kate said with a shy smile as she turned to him. "Perfect. Let's go. I've got something that'll surprise you." "Can we stop by my parents' place first?" she asked. Stephen gently squeezed her hand, his eyes glowing with joy. "Of course. No question." The car eased into the street. Kate leaned against Stephen's arm, soaking in the warmth of his touch. Her future now felt wide open, filled with love and endless creative possibilities. And now, tell us, did you enjoy the story? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. A brand new story is coming out tomorrow. Stay tuned.